Happy New Year! We made it! Woo! 2020 is over and 2021 is here. I'm sure if you're like me, you're sensing a big sense of relief and also some excitement about the new year. Well, I remember feeling that same sense of relief and excitement at the end of every semester when I was in grad school. And especially on the last semester when I actually finished my master's degree. Well, today we're going to talk about two characters as we wrap up our Hope for the Holiday series, and that is Simeon and Anna, and the relief and the excitement that they felt on a whole other level because they met baby Jesus. So let's dig in today in this episode entitled The Reality of Jesus. Well, welcome back, guys. I am so glad that you have continued to join me every week in this journey of Hope for the Holidays series as we've looked at different Bible characters in the Christmas story. And today we're going to be wrapping it up with our final episode. In episode 1, we looked at the Hebrew prophets in the promise of hope and what they spoke literally hundreds of years before Jesus was ever on planet Earth. And then in episode 2, we looked at Joseph and Mary and the call to faith as they walked out in obedience what God had called them to do and the role that he had called them to play. And then in episode 3, we saw the shepherds and the innkeeper and the joy of good news that they received from the angels. And of course, the being able to see Jesus for themselves, just as they said. And then episode 4, we talked about the wise men, the magi, and the gift of worship. So today we're going to be talking about the two Bible characters that are often not very familiar to us, and that is Simeon and Anna. And you find their story in Luke chapter 2. And so I love them because they show us something that is just precious and just that they were both very devout, very old as well. And so I just want to read a little bit about each of them, and it's in this chapter 2. And so we know that Mary and Joseph, as was their custom in Jewish law, they took baby Jesus to get circumcised on the 8th day after he was born. And so they took him to Jerusalem and to the temple, and that's where Simeon was. And it says here that, Simeon says this man was just and devout, waiting for the consolation of Israel, and the Holy Spirit was upon him. And it had been revealed to him by the Holy Spirit that he would not see death before he had seen the Lord's Christ. And then in verse 28, it says that he took him up, speaking of Jesus, in his arms and blessed God and said, "Lord, now you are letting your servant depart in peace according to your word, for my eyes have seen your salvation." And then in verse 34, it says that Simeon blessed them and said to Mary, his mother, "Behold, this child is destined for the fall and rising of many in Israel, and for a sign which will be spoken against. Yes, a sword will pierce through your own soul also, that the thoughts of many may be revealed." So Simeon got to see the promised fulfillment of the Messiah when he saw Jesus. And also, let's move on to verse 36, and it talks about Anna, a prophetess, the daughter of Phanuel in the tribe of Asher. It says that she was of great age. And really, she was at least 100 years old, if you do the math of what it says here. But it says here in verse 37, and this woman was a widow of about 84 years who did not depart from the temple, but served God with fastings and prayers night and day. And coming in that instant, she gave thanks to the Lord and spoke of him to all those who looked for redemption in Jerusalem. So both Simeon and Anna were waiting for the Messiah to be born. And that day when Joseph and Mary went to the temple and they saw baby Jesus just 8 days old, they knew by the Holy Spirit, he is the one. So just imagine that you've been waiting and praying and waiting and praying, and then the Lord answers your prayer and your expectation. And so this is what I want us to see today is the reality of Jesus Christ. When they saw that their long-awaited dream was fulfilled, it became a reality right before them. Just like when I talked about in the intro, when you're working, I was working for my master's degree, and every semester was like, all right, one semester down. But finally, when I was done, it was like, oh my gosh, that's it. Like, it's here. I'm done. And there was the achievement. Well, this was not something that they did, but that God did. And that God was faithful to his word to bring about the Messiah. And so how amazing and exciting that is. Proverbs 13:12 says that a longing fulfilled is a tree of life. And 13:19 says a longing fulfilled is sweet to the soul. So guys, I don't know what you have been waiting for from the Lord. 2020 has passed, right? And some things came to pass. I believe that God was faithful in 2020, that despite the pandemic, despite some things that happened that maybe just were hard, were difficult, were painful, that the Lord still worked in those circumstances and in our lives. And he was able to turn things around together for the good for you and for me. And now it's 2021. So I just want to encourage you to keep trusting, keep believing, because the reality is that Jesus has come, and because he is now our reality, in him we have everything that the Lord has promised. And so whether it's been manifested yet or not, it's coming. It's coming. And so maybe 2020 was not your year, but maybe 2021 is. So I don't know what you're believing God for, but I just want to encourage you, be like Simeon, be like Anna, continue to be devout to the Lord, continue to seek him, to pray, to fast, and to trust him, because God is faithful. And so Simeon was able to find peace and rest. We see that here in the scriptures. And this is what we find when we are able to hold Jesus as well, and he becomes our reality. In him, we find rest. Jesus says, come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. So maybe you need rest today, but I just want to tell you that the reality of Jesus in your life will bring rest to you. Or like Anna, she had so much gratitude, and then she began to share the good news of the Messiah to those that she came into contact with. Maybe in 2021, we can be more intentional about sharing the good news of Jesus with those around us, because really he is the one true hope. So many things can fail us, as we experienced in 2020, but let me tell you, God never fails us. He is faithful. He is the only one that will continue to be in control when everybody, and including us, are not in control. God is always in control, and we can trust in him because his kingdom is unshakable. So today, as you pray and prepare, I just want to encourage you, as far as 2021 goes, lay that before the Lord. Ask him, what does he want from you this year? What do you need to do for him? And not necessarily for ourselves, because we are here to live for him, because the reality of Jesus has changed everything. And I pray that he has changed your life and will continue to bring about his plans and purposes in your life. So I look forward to seeing y'all next time, but let's be excited. Let's be grateful that the reality of Jesus has changed our lives. God bless y'all. Well, thank you so much for joining me today on our final episode, The Reality of Jesus. And that puts a bow on it. We are done with the Hope for the Holidays series. I hope that you've enjoyed it. And I invite you to come back and stay tuned as I pray and prepare about the new content that's coming up. But until then, please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't done that already. And I look forward to connecting with you guys online.